In this chapter, we're going to talk about dynamics and how we show those dynamics with both our right and our left hand. To start with, in the chapter, Anthony Maiello talks a little bit about how expression, communicating through speech, is very similar to what happens in all of our musical endeavors. As we do different sentences or different accents, whatever we do, we use those accents or dynamic changes to make a sentence sound different. And the same thing happens in music. So what we want to do is focus on how we can get our gestures to match the dynamics that are on the page. To start with, we're going to talk a little bit about varying the pattern size. And what that means is that when we do a pattern, we have a certain size that we tend to use. And you'll remember back in our first classes, we talked about stretching the taffy, where we hold a wad of taffy and we stretched out and we got all the way out on our horizontal plane, and that was as far as we could go, and then we'd come back in. Or on our vertical plane, we'd go as high and low as we possibly could and then come back down. Well, if we were to picture a box where our pattern tends to fit in, that's a combination of the horizontal and the vertical planes, that box would indicate the outsides, meaning the bottom, the one to the left, the one to the right, and the one at the top. That's our box, and that's how big our pattern tends to be. When we are using a variance of pattern size in order to show our dynamics, you'll see that the box gets bigger on each point. It gets lower, it gets wider and taller and lower and wider and taller, and then slightly smaller as we get smaller, to the point where we could even take it and just do very, very small gestures. I'm using a 4 pattern here, obviously, but this would allow us to see that the box is very small, just about that big. Well, when we want to use this to grow an ensemble's volume or to diminish it, we only need to increase or decrease the pattern size. So if I was going to do this, let's sing a song here. Dee da 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 dee da. You see, I'm just using the pattern to get larger and smaller dynamics. This is called varying the pattern size. This can also be done in mirror with the right and left hand at the same time. We do dee da dee da dee da dee da 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 dee da 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 dee da. And you just use that pattern size, shrink the box, expand the box, whatever you want to do in order to make that gesture happen. Also notice that my body will follow suit. So as we're doing this, if I'm doing that, I'll tend to lean in as I'm growing and then come back as I'm getting smaller. Or you could do it the other way too. We could lean back as we get bigger, and then as we get smaller we could lean in if we wanted a much more intimate feel in the music. So the body, again, is connected to the arms. We want to make sure that it matches what the arms are doing. The next thing that we're going to talk about is how to use the left hand in order to show the dynamic increases and decreases, the crescendos and the decrescendos. Please note what it says on page 66. Important. The left hand should be open and inviting. Nobody wants a dynamic that is given really yucky sort of, or unclear. We want it to be open and inviting. Grow. Less. Crescendo. Decrescendo. So, we're going to use some of the exercises we used in the stretching the taffy now. And we're going to take this left hand all by itself. We're going to start in the middle, and we're just going to go up as high as we can go, and then make it look as though we are placing something on a shelf. And then we're just going to bring our hand back down. And this time we're going to go down low, and we're going to pretend that we're picking something up. We're going to grab it, we're going to turn it around, and then come back up. To show this, let me use a specific tool here. I'm going to use a ball. So if our ball is setting on a music stand here, set it there so that you can see it. I'm going to act like I'm picking up the ball, and I'm going to place it in my hand as if I've got a nice cup shape there. The ball sits inside the cup shape. And now I'm going to lift that ball up. I'm going to turn it over, pretend like I'm placing it on a shelf, and then I'm going to come back down. And I'm actually going to place it on the shelf. Or I'm going to turn over my wrist as if I'm going to do the exercise again. Using a ball or an orange is a very good idea in your practice, and I highly recommend it. So let's do some exercises with it. We're going to hold the ball, and in this case we're going to take our right hand and we're going to just keep a nice steady one beat. 1, 1, 1. If you don't want to get the right hand involved yet, that's okay, but try to get it as soon as you can. And all we want to do is to just lift it up. 1, 2, 3, 4. Turn over. 2, 3, 4. Bring it down. 2, 3, 4. Turn. 2, 3, 4. Up. 2, 3, 4. Again, we could do this with 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Or twos. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. The goal is to get it so that your left hand is moving independent of your right at various times. And you can do all sorts of games with these. You can play along, and if you're doing a 2-beat here and you want to do it for 4, so 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Or how about 3? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Notice that my right hand hasn't changed the 2-beat pattern. Or maybe you want to do 5. Ooh, that'd be scary. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Have some fun with this. Use it as a game. A couple of things that you should note. Number 1, as I'm doing this, the left hand is taking the full duration up and the full duration down. There's no rushing and then waiting. There's no rushing and then waiting. We're taking the full time. The other thing is that the right hand does not change. It does not move with it. It doesn't go 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 1, 2, 3, 4. No, that doesn't happen. The right hand stays where it is. The third thing to notice is that the left hand does not show beats as it goes up. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Smooth, smooth as we do this. Gaining left hand independence in this is going to be one of the most critical things that you learn, and it will help your dynamics a lot. Now, if we get rid of the ball, it should look something like this. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. The other thing that Anthony Maiello talks about, and this by the way is on page 68, is using the face to show dynamics. As we do this, it would be, fine if we just use our left hand and we go up and then we come down and I keep a nice deadpan face. But it's much more powerful if I take the left hand, or take my face with the left hand and go. Or if I open my mouth. We can breathe with the motion. We can use our eyebrows, we can use our eyes, we can use our cheeks, we can use our head, our chin. Use your face to highlight what is going on in the dynamic changes, the crescendos and the decrescendos.